April showers bring May flowers, man. This is the Blu Ray releases for May 2023. I got a fresh cup of coffee right here, and we're going to go right into some really solid titles, man, I tell you. Starting off over in the UK on May 1st, we have a new release of one of my all time favorite films, my favorite Australian film. This is from 1975, and it's Peter Weir's adaptation of Picnic at Hanging Rock.
You must learn to love someone else apart from me, Sarah. I won't be here much longer.
Good morning, girls.
Good morning, Mrs. Appenella.
Well, young ladies, we are indeed fortunate in the weather for our picnic to Hanging Rock. I have instructed Mademoiselle that as the day is likely to be warm, you may remove your gloves once the drag has passed through Wood End.
Now, this is based off the novel of the same name, and this is making its 4K debut from Second Sight. This has 3 releases with a new restoration. One, which is the Ultimate Edition in 4K, has a nice big box set. It includes the original novel, as well as, I believe, a book of essays by various critics or historians, something like that. Then you have the standard 4K, and then you have the regular Blu-ray, which is the new remaster. And this already has a Blu-ray in America from Criterion. This has 2 editions in the States of the special edition, which also includes a novel, which I have read, as well as a standard Blu-ray as well. Now, an important thing to note about this release as compared to the Criterion one is that there's more features on this one. I should say there's more new features on this one, more interviews, as well as the big one being, or the big benefit of this release being that this includes both the theatrical and the director's cut, whereas I believe the Criterion only included the theatrical cut. And because when I saw that, I was wondering if I'd actually even seen the director's cut, and I looked it up, and I believe the director's cut is actually a little bit shorter. From what I've seen, but I'm gonna be grabbing this for sure, just a regular 4K. When it comes to Second Sight's big box sets, as really as cool as they are, the packaging is great and all that. A lot of the stuff inside I really just don't need. When I look for a new release, I look for a good transfer and good artwork and good features, and I think that this has 2 out of the 3. The artwork on this isn't too bad, but I don't know if I would have went with this image, but either way, it's just a total masterpiece, a very hypnotic film. I've talked about this before on the show. I had seen this theatrically a couple months ago, and I've seen this film a couple of times now, and it's just a brilliant, brilliant film. I think Peter Weir is just one of the great filmmakers, one of my favorite filmmakers. I would love to get a good release of The Last Wave as well. I believe that has a Blu-ray actually from Imprint or someone I don't know. Would like to get a Blu-ray of that though at some point in the States. Another title from Second Run, a company that I've been talking about a lot lately, Morgiana from 1972, which is a film I'm not familiar with, but I've mentioned before how much I've enjoyed the output they've been doing, so this will be bought at some point. I actually just picked up the recent release of Lauren. I don't know what year that's from, but that looks very interesting, so I'm totally on board with whatever they're putting out, as well as some other Warner Archive titles that are coming overseas. Fandango, American Flyers, and a double feature of The Ghost Ship and Bedlam. I've talked about Fandango on the show. I've not seen American Flyers. The Ghost Ship is alright. I've only ever seen it once on TCM, and remember thinking it was pretty good. Not bad, but Bedlam is one that I actually think is a real cool film. Boris Karloff is running this institution, and it's just a real cool film, man. So back in America on May 2nd, we have a 4K upgrade of Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire, starring Bruno Ganz from 1987. This previously had a release from Criterion, and a film that I only have just seen for the first time within the past month or so. Actually, probably about 2 months ago. I don't exactly remember. But a really terrific film, man. I really love the way, for one, the film is shot. It has a lot of great overhead shots. A lot of this is a very This is a film that follows a couple different stories. You have Bruno Gans as his angel who's kind of feeling unfulfilled, and we're looking into the lives of all these various people, and Bruno Gans kind of longing for this sort of interaction and this real kind of human touch that he can't get, and kind of feeling like he's really kind of isolated. It's an incredible film, man. I thought this was really exceptional. Wim Wenders is a filmmaker who I'm admittedly not as knowledgeable on. I've only seen this, Paris, Texas, and the full version of Until the End of the World. And Paris, Texas is, one of the best films of all time, one of my favorite films. And Until the End of the World is very interesting. I think the first half of that film is really, really special, really interesting, and really well directed. At a certain point, it starts to kind of lose traction for me, but very good either way. I would definitely say it's worth watching. So I also have his Kings of the Road, or his Road trilogy box set that Criterion put out that I haven't watched yet, but he's still going. I think, wait, did he direct that movie Pina from 2011, I believe? Yeah, he's still going, man. As well as with Radiance Films, a new release from them from 1975, The Sunday Woman, with a great cast. You have Jean-Louis Trintignant, Marcelo Mastroianni, and Jacqueline Bisset. And an acquaintance of mine has already gotten an early copy of this, and he wasn't so crazy on the film, but this is one that I'd be willing to take a chance on for the cast alone. Especially, Jean-Louis Trintignant in the past year has become just one of my favorite actors to watch. I recently saw a new theatrical restoration of Bernardo Bertolucci's The Conformist, and on top of already being a great film, he's just such a compelling leading man that I'll watch anything that he's in, man. Also on this day, now this is a strange release that I don't know. I don't know who was really asking for this one, man. But it's a movie I've not thought of probably since I had seen it theatrically. The film Skyline from 2010, which isn't even a bad concept of a film. It's this party that's going on, and there's an alien invasion. From what I can remember, because I last saw it in theaters in 2010. If you look up at the ship, then you get like this kind of like blue glow over your eyes, and you become like an alien. I don't think you become an alien, but you get put on the ship. I don't exactly remember. This had 2 sequels, Beyond Skyline, and I think another one. But yeah, this is one that I've never heard anyone say that they like this film. I mean, even people who like a lot of alien invasion films, I've really yet to hear any overwhelmingly positive opinions on this. But I mean, it's coming to 4K there if you happen to want to take a chance on it. Let's see, on this day as well. One title a new release that I'll talk about briefly that I haven't really heard a whole lot of talk about. This movie that came out, I saw it theatrically this year, but I guess might technically be a 2022 film. It's this film called Of an Age, directed by Goran Stefleski. And I really thought this was a terrific film, man. I didn't really know much about this going in. This sort of I thought I heard maybe it was a gay drama or something like that, but I really didn't know. So I'm watching the film, and the opening sequence of this film, it plays out almost kind of like a thriller or something. It kind of it took me aback. I'm like, what's going on here? It's this girl is all alone in this area, and she doesn't know where she is. She doesn't have like a phone or anything like that. She doesn't have any money, so she calls up I think it was she calls up her brother, I believe, or she calls up her friend, one of the two, and saying that she needs to get picked up, but he doesn't have a car, so he has to go to either the brother or the friend. I apologize, I don't remember. And from there, they go to pick her up, and they start to form a bond over the course of this one day. And 90% of the film takes place over the course of this day. They're trying to do this dance competition, and the friendship possibly leading into something more romantic along the way. I just thought this was a great film. Both the lead actors in this film are two I weren't familiar with, and even the girl as well. I wasn't familiar with her as well, but it's really the three of them that are holding up a lot of the film. And then especially when it gets to the third act, I thought it did a really interesting turn with the writing, whereas the characters are in a situation where neither one of them are at fault, but you can understand kind of the animosity that they may have, these feelings that they may have towards one another. It's just a really well done drama that I just haven't heard a lot about. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, so just wanted to bring that up. I know it's already been on video on demand. I've seen it pop up on Amazon to rent, but just keep that in mind going forward if it sounds like something that'd be up your alley. On May 8th in the UK, I think these I may have talked about these last month, I don't remember, but I think these got delayed. These are 2 indicator 4Ks of The Shiver of the Vampires and 2 Orphan Vampires, which are also coming to regular Blu-ray as well. I am not familiar with these films. I think they were delayed. As well as the Three Musketeers and the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers, both in 4K from 73 and 74. Have not seen these films. I'm not actually really familiar with these at all, to be honest. No, this is cool. This is a film I talked about recently that I had seen theatrically. A film I really liked a lot, which is Ennis Men. This is coming from the BFI. This was it's interesting about this film because I've seen the trailer a couple times when I was at the cinema, and the movie's really not. I think they were trying to market it as a horror film, and it's really not that. This is way more of just a straight kind of avant-garde film, rather than something. I mean, there is a feeling of underlying tension and underlying possible terror, but we have this woman who is all alone on this island called Ennis Men, and she's there to record this one pack that has these flowers, and she has to see if there's any changes with them. And then as the film goes along, there's this creeping sort of possible other kind of tension or feeling going on. I mean, it's for a movie that's only about 90 minutes or so. It really does take its time. If you're looking for a big kind of payoff or conclusion, you might be disappointed. Basically, you're going to know whether or not this is going to be your kind of film about 10 minutes in or not. It's very slow moving. The movie's not really concerned whether or not you're following what's going on or not. Because the thing is that I was looking up this film after, sort of, because I wasn't familiar with filmmaker Mark Jenkins and sort of where he was coming from with the film and the ideas that he had with it. Because ultimately, when it comes to the real conclusion of the film, it's not really a very, and this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but I promise you it's not, but it's not a very deep film story-wise. And when you actually get to the not necessarily the point, but once you actually get to the what is going on, reading up after the fact, it's very simple, but I think it's very effective in terms of the way the film is shot. It has beautiful 16 millimeter footage, these great zooms that they do. The main actor in the film, the woman I wasn't familiar with, but she was really terrific as well. She doesn't have a whole lot of dialogue, but her face, but just the way that she goes about is terrific, man. We have another actor in the film that shows up about halfway through. I talked about this more recently when I was talking about it with the recent film Godland, which I hope gets a release as well, because both these films I thought were really exceptional. But this is one that I'll probably wait a little bit if there's going to be a U.S. release, because if not, I'll import this, because I would like to watch this again and check out some of the features on this. From Arrow UK as well, The Beta Test, which is the last film, or the latest film from Jim Cummings. And Jim Cummings is a writer, director, actor who I wasn't familiar with before, and then I did the 2018 episode, and I watched his film Thunder Road, and I totally loved it. I thought it was such a funny and sad kind of film, but a big part of that film is the performance by Jim Cummings. The scene that I always think about when I think about that film is about halfway through or so, when he's outside the police station, kind of airing his grievances, and I thought that scene, especially the way that he balances tone of being comedic but also tragic, and how easily he flips between the two. It's so well done, man. I haven't seen his the film he did after The Wolf of Snow Hollow, but I had some acquaintances say they really liked that film. So the beta test is pretty good. I think this is one where the concept of it may be better than the film itself. I have some problems with the script here and there, but I thought this was an interesting film for sure, and I like how he's at least doing different things. This is more in line of I guess a drama kind of thriller in a way, if you will. I think Wolf of Snow Hollow was a horror film as well. I'm actually not sure about that one, but keep that in mind if you're interested in this film. I know I think this has a Blu Ray in the States. I'm not really sure about features or anything like that, but I imagine that if Arrow are putting it out, they're going to probably do a pretty exceptional job compared to just a standard release. Back in America on May 9th, we have I also forgot to mention on May 2nd that Deep Impact is coming to 4K. I hadn't seen the film, so that's why I didn't bring it up. I really kind of skipped a couple titles here. Clash by Night, Assassination Bureau, and Border Incident. Anyways, okay. Moving on to May 9th, the Superman 1 through 4 5-film collection is coming to 4K. This includes the first 4 films as well as Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. I've actually never seen any of these films, man. I'm not really interested in these kind of superhero films. They just don't really appeal to me. I'd be watching them for more of a historical kind of context with like Gene Hackman and Marlon Brando and seeing what they were doing at that time. And like Richard Pryor as well was in the third one, I think. I mean, from what I've always heard, at least I think the general consensus is that 1 and 2 are very good. I've heard people say they like 2 more. I don't know if that's a general opinion or not. And I've heard not so great things about 3 and 4. I mean, this isn't really the kind of thing I'd purchase, but I mean, it's there. People are really into the superhero kind of comic book films, so that's definitely there. And I like Christopher Reeve a lot as well as an actor. He did a really terrific film that has a Blu Ray from Warner Archive, which is a movie called Death Trap with Michael Caine from, I don't remember what year it is, but that's a really solidly written almost feels like a play, but it's a really great back and forth of just this great deception between these two characters. As well, on this day, we have a standard release of Toxic Zombies coming from Massacre Video, and to my knowledge, I don't know if they do a whole lot of standard releases for their films. I know they're pretty upfront about having kind of limited releases, but that Nightmare on Elm Street one, the Bollywood one, or the Indian film, I'm sorry, one of the two, I think I might be getting a standard release as well. I'm not actually sure. That might actually come up later in the month. I'm not sure. Also, another upgrade is Seijun Suzuki's Branded to Kill is coming to Criterion 4K. Seijun I can't say that name. Seijun Suzuki is a filmmaker who I've always seen pop up, but this was the first film of his I've actually seen. I think he did a lot of like Pinky films later on in the 60s and 70s. I think Arrow may have actually had a box set of some of his work. But this is a film that I think I might need to see some of his other work to appreciate this film more, because I did like this film, but it didn't quite. But besides the really terrific cinematography and the way that some shots are leveled, the way that not leveled, are lit with the shadows, messing with the lighting of the shadows, is these great interiors. It's not a film that I had really strong opinions on one way or another, but I'd be willing to watch it again, especially after I watched more of his work, and I understand that watching some of his Pinky work may not be the best indicator of some of his other work, but who knows, man. But moving on from there as well, on this day, let's see what we got here. More martial arts films coming from Arrow Video. Hand of Death, which is one that I actually intended to watch because sometimes with a lot of martial arts titles that have been coming out, there's just giant gaps that I haven't seen. I like martial arts films, so there's just so many that I just haven't seen. And so like Hand of Death, for example, it looks very cool, but I just haven't seen it yet, so I can't really comment on it. Because when it comes to a lot of these titles, I try not to just comment on the release itself. I try to actually say if the film is good or not so good. But that's just there, heads up. And I also try not to talk about a whole lot of new releases. Like on this day as well, like Knock at the Cabin, is coming to 4K as well. It's a new release, so I think a lot of people probably already know about that one. But also on this day, interestingly enough, is the 2020 remake of Children of the Corn. This was the second remake of the film of Children of the Corn, I should say. This originally came out. Now, here's the interesting thing: is that I think this played out at drive-in, or like it played at one drive-in during the pandemic in 2020 when theaters weren't, when the cinema wasn't open, it was only drive-ins. And I remember this came out, and I heard it was really bad, and then I didn't hear anything about it for a while, and I thought I was like, I brought up to somebody, they didn't know what I was talking about. They're like, well, there's no Children of the Corn remake. I'm like, no, I swear to God. And I had to look it up to prove I wasn't crazy. And then this finally came out this year in 2023. I think I had a very, very brief run. I don't even think I went to theaters. I think this may have just been kind of like, I knew some people had seen it and they weren't really hot on it, but I don't know, man. I've only ever seen the first Children of the Corn. I never saw the sci-fi TV remake with the kid from Dexter. I have no interest in this as well, but I know there's people who are completionists who want to own all the films in the series, so that's coming on that day, as well as a standard release of the Blu Ray of All Quiet on the Western Front on this day as well. And actually, before, when I talked about the standard editions of the Massacre Video titles, the film I was thinking of was Mahakal, which was the Indian Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff that I've had some acquaintances say they actually really enjoyed it. They said it was really fun, so I'd be kind of curious about this. Sometimes when it comes to titles like this, I'm a little more weary to blind buy them if it's like $30 or so. Like I don't care about like limited editions or any of that stuff. If I can get this for a good price, I'll be willing to check it out, or during a sale, because I have been hearing some good things about it as well. On this day, on May 15th, in the UK, more Radiance film titles. The Bride Wore Black from 1968, Yakuza Graveyard, and She Dies Tomorrow, as well as standard editions of The Working Class Go to Heaven and Welcome to the Dollhouse. I believe Big Time Gambling Boss already has a standard edition as well. Yeah, I haven't seen these films. I actually just picked up The Bride Wore Black from the Kino sale, it's a True Foe title from 1968 that I've heard mixed things on. I think Catherine Deneuve is in this film, if I'm correct about that. Yakuza Graveyard, I'm not familiar with at all. She Dies Tomorrow is, what the hell's her name? Amy something. Gosh, I'm going to pull it up right now. This was a film from a couple of years ago. Amy Simons, yes, that's right. You remember her from Upstream Color, and I know that there's been some stuff between her and Shane Carruth, I think is his name. So this is her directorial debut, to my knowledge. I never saw this film when it came out. I think back in 2020, and I think I heard. I don't like to speculate. I thought I heard pretty good things about it. I didn't hear overwhelmingly positive or negative things. But I was, I saw the imagery, the poster and stuff, and I'd be interested to at least check this out. I don't know if I'd go ahead and buy it, but if anyone has seen it, I'd be curious if anyone has an opinion on it. Now, am I going crazy? Did this get delayed again? Twilight from 1990? I feel like I just talked about this like last month or something, and I thought I talked about it the month before that. I could be going absolutely crazy, man. I'm drinking this coffee right now, and I tell you, oh, even the cat's giving me a look like, man, what are you talking about, you know? Going back to America on this day, on May 16th, some more big titles. We have In the Line of Duty 1 through 4. I have not seen these films, but an acquaintance of mine, is it 1 through 4? Yeah, it's 1 through 4, okay. But an acquaintance of mine who reviewed this for his YouTube channel, he was telling me he was like, you got to pick this box set up, man. These films are great. He was really hot on these films, man. This stars, Michelle Yeoh and, let me get some of the names here. Oh man, Blu-ray site needs to calm down, man. They put up an ad right in front of the names. I couldn't. Yeah, let's see. We have Cynthia Khan, Michelle Yeoh, Dick Y, Michael Wong, Paul Chun, and Tai Chu. Or two, I don't know his name. I don't know anything about these films, man. But like I said, I mean, a lot of these, I don't even know if these are martial arts films or not. But I'm willing to take a chance on them, especially because he was so hot on them, and I don't really know anything about them. Let's see here on this day. Funny enough, the original Italian Job with Michael Caine just got a 4K, and the remake from 2003 with Mark Wahlberg and Charlize Theron is coming to 4K as well. And I've never seen this film. I have this poster, so I've seen this poster like 100 times in my life. I feel like an old man. I remember seeing this poster up at the cinema when it was a new release back in 2003, because I'm getting into an old man. I'm an old man. But on this day, let's see here, the title that a lot of people have been waiting for, and you know, I think as film fans, we're all excited to finally have a physical release, Blu-ray, of Peter Bogdanovich's phenomenal debut film, Targets.
A typical American family at dinner. Mom and Dad, their beautiful daughter-in-law, and their only son, Joe, a homicidal maniac.
Harry! What are you doing?
How's your dad? It's okay.
Here you go.
Thanks a lot.
What you hunting this time?
Gonna shoot some pigs.
Targets, a movie about a war inside a man's head.
This is a film from 1968. Starring Boris Karloff as I think a lot of people know about this film, but this was one that it got announced for a Blu-ray last year or 2 years ago, something like that, by the BFI, along with The Appointment as well, which is, I always like to give a nod to that film. That's a really terrific film. If you haven't seen that or aren't aware of it, keep that on your watch list. I think, was it Edward Woodward's in that? Yeah, I believe so, I don't know. But yeah, so it got announced, and then it got canceled without any real explanation. So when this got announced by Criterion, it was kind of incredible, man. There was really no build-up, no announcement. It was just sort of like, bam, so it's sort of like the amount of titles that, would love to get a Blu-ray release that might be tricky, it can happen at any point, man. So fingers crossed one of these days we get a Blu-ray Night of the Juggler, man, I tell you. But Targets is a phenomenal, confidently directed debut film, man. Boris Karloff plays pretty much himself. He plays his character Byron Orlock, who is he's watching his last film, which are clips from The Terror. Jack Nicholson, and he's saying, like, he's done these last couple pictures. He's an aging film star. He's like, you know what, man, this is, my time is gone. This is not, nowadays people are more scared about, real life monsters out there. People killing each other. They're not scared of like monsters on screen anymore. So you have this young guy who's kind of like almost kind of like Bogdanovich himself, because you talk about Bogdanovich was such a so into like Howard Hawks and Hitchcock and all them, and it's interesting. When I was talking about recently, I just read Cinema Speculation, which is Quentin Tarantino's new book, and he talks about kind of how a lot of which I think I may have actually talked about this in the last Cozy Corner, I don't remember, or one of the Cozy Corners, I don't remember, but he was talking about how, like, a lot of the, not all the new generation of filmmakers were as open, and not as many of the new generation of filmmakers were as influenced by a lot of the older filmmakers. So, you had Bogdanovich, you had Scorsese, and you had Coppola, who were, into, a lot of these older kind of filmmakers and stuff, but then you had, or maybe, I don't actually know if Coppola was part of that, because I think actually some of his earlier work was, like, The Rain People, to my knowledge, I believe is more directly inspired by by a French New Wave film, and that's what it feels like. The Rain People feels, it feels pretty French New Wave at times. I don't know if, yeah, whatever. Anyways, my point is that in this film, we have this guy, and a great introduction to his character. So what he does is that, like, he's across the street, because Boris Karloff, he's talking, and he's like, I'm not gonna, this guy's like, I have another script for you, this is gonna be really good, this is a character film, this isn't like another monster movie, and he's like, I don't want to do it, man, and we have this guy across the street who's aiming a sniper rifle at him, and then bam, we see that he is perching the sniper rifle, this guy, and I love the way that Bogdanovich kind of contrasts the old to the new, because we go back to this guy's house, and let me pull the name up actually because I want to give him credit. I don't remember the name of the actor, but he has this sort of like 1950s house. It's like, he walks on the inside and it's like, there's nothing on the walls. It's just painted beautifully. He's got a beautiful wife. His parents love him and all that. It's basically the ideal life, but it's this sinister kind of like underbelly of just this monster beneath him, man, like a real life monster. And let me get the name up here, actually. I apologize. Give me one moment here. Actually, we have Tim O'Kelly playing this character, Bobby, who's a Vietnam vet. And anyways, so we go back to his house, and it's, he has his ideal setup in life, but he's going to go on a murder spree, man. And then what I love about the film as well is the use of sound, which is the lack of sound. When you get to the first sequence of violence, it's disturbing in the way that it's not grotesque and it's not excessive. It's more disturbing in the way of just you have like the contrast in the actual scene itself. I don't want to give away when the scene actually happens, because I think when you get to it, it's kind of actually shocking the way that it's just kind of like, now we're doing this. But it's so well done, and then after the carnage happens, it's just this lingering silence of just this character going around and moving these things. Man, this is so confidently directed, and a hell of a debut film, man. I mean, Bogdanovich should go on to cement his place with great films like The Last Picture Show, and he did other things like What's Up Doc and Paper Moon and stuff. And I would recommend highly the Plot Thickens. With Peter Bogdanovich, one of the seasons of the TCM podcast series. It's got great insights, and Peter Bogdanovich, R.I.P., has passed. It passed last year. So yeah, it's a really great kind of end of life sort of stories. He talks about like his troubled relationship with Orson Welles and stuff. But man, if do not skip on this film, man. Like when that sale comes in July, make this a priority, man. This film is incredible. As well on this day we have from Kino, The Longest Yard in 4K from 1974, the original with Burt Reynolds and Ed Lauter. And this is an interesting film, man, because it's a film that I watched and I liked it, but I think it maybe needed to go further, man. Because you think of Burt Reynolds and you want like a hard ass kind of like no nonsense, kind of joking around Burt Reynolds. I just say no nonsense joking around, but in terms of like he's like a ladies' man, but he's also like cool and confident. And here it feels kind of pulled back, man. It's like I kind of like I think of like the great '70s sports films of like Slapshot or Bad News Bears, and you imagine that if Paul Newman and Walter Matthau's characters are, you could see them like hanging out. They're both kind of like very on PC, always kind of like hanging around, but they're good. They're good at what they do, and you kind of want like I can't really imagine Burt Reynolds hanging out with them more so. It definitely feels pulled back. This was remade in 2005 actually with Adam Sandler, and I think Burt Reynolds I know was in it. I think Ed Lauter is actually in that as well. And I'll watch anything with Ed Lauter, man. I mean, huge Death Wish 3 fan. Might be my favorite action film, but that's coming on this day as well if you're interested, as well as more titles from Cauldron Films, Convoy Busters, and Shanghai Joe. The only release of theirs I have is Contraband. I still haven't watched it yet, but from what I hear, they're doing good work. Everyone who I know who has picked up their releases has said really positive things about them. So those are exclusive through Diabolic DVD. On their website as well. Let's see here. Got a handful of other titles. Got some just it looks like a lot of just burn-on-demand titles. Some of these I think are re-releases. Some of these are... Yeah, isn't that good to see that Coen are still doing stuff, man? It felt like for a while we weren't getting a lot of Coen releases. L.A. Wars is coming to MVD. I forgot who put this out, man. I think this was a Vinegar Syndrome title. I have not seen this one, man. I have an acquaintance of mine who's really more into these late 90s, or I should say 90s in general, kind of, I don't know if this is straight to video or not, but he knows more about these 90s kind of action films than I do, and a lot of the VSA titles I don't typically blind buy, because, you get mixed results on them, unless an acquaintance says, like, is overwhelmingly positive about it, but that's there, at least in an affordable release. Okay, let's see. That might be it for that day. Yeah, I'm looking right there, man. So, all right, man. Back in here we go. May 22. We have. Let me get a sip of this coffee. We're talking about some of these films. All right, on May 22nd, over in the UK, we have a 4K of Terry Gilliam's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. This currently has a Blu Ray in the States from Criterion, and I've talked about this film before. It made my top 10 favorite films of 1998, and this is one that I think will benefit from being in 4K. I haven't looked at the features or anything like this, But because it's a very visual film, very hypnotic, not just with the the visuals themselves, but the sound design as well. When it's the sound starts to distort and they're going through these kind of heavily crowded and noisy kind of casino areas and stuff. I'd be very interested to see what the transfer is on this, because at the past couple of releases, all I've heard from Arrow is that their transfers on their 4Ks have been phenomenal. I think it was Brian Sauer, who was the one who was really hot on that Videodrome 4K. He was saying that it looked like much better than the Criterion Blu-ray, and I was just like, all right, man, you got my attention now. So keep that in mind going forward. I haven't looked at the features or anything like this yet. That Andrzej Zulawski box set got delayed to the end of May, and again, I have not seen these three films. Andrzej Zulawski is another filmmaker who I have not seen enough of his work. I know about most of his films, and actually I had the opportunity. I'm kind of I wish I'd actually made the effort to go see it, but I remember a couple years ago they were showing a new restoration of On the Silver Globe, which I think was his last film or was his last incompleted film, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But the films in this box set include, if I can pull it up here if the site wants to load, The Third Part of the Night, The Devil, and On the Silver Globe. And this is coming from Eureka, the Masters of Cinema collection. Yeah, man, so this is on my to-buy list currently. Let's see. What I mentioned before is that Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is coming to 4K on Blu-ray, and I don't know. See, I've mentioned before kind of the frustration at A24's releases, man, because a lot of their releases they're only doing site exclusives. So I think this may have been a site exclusive in the States, but because 4K is region free, you might as well just import it. Because what I mentioned before, the frustration with that After Sun release is that in comparison to the movie release, it's just there's really there might be I think there's like a one commentary or an interview on the A24 release, but then the movie release is has more features. I think the sound is even different. I was seeing somebody's review and they were mentioning that the sound was I think better on the movie, or was oh wait, no, were they talking about EO? No, I'm sorry, they were talking about After Sun, because I actually watched their EO review of the BFI Blu-ray. But anyways, just keep that in mind. I get a little frustrated with A24's exclusive titles, and I think, like, I don't know what they're doing, man. Especially when you have companies like Arrow, who announced The Lighthouse coming to 4K. I mean, they're going to put a bunch of features on that. They're going to give it a good release, and if A24 is not going to put the effort into their releases, it's sort of just like, I'm not going to buy the site exclusive, for the goodies inside. They don't mean anything to me. But anyways, that's there. Back in the U.S. on May 23rd. Let's see. I guess, and did this get? All right, the Running Man 4K is coming up again. Unless this is another re-release, because I know for a fact, man, that an acquaintance of mine has already gotten that 4K. This was like a while ago, so I don't know what this is, man. Because last month, I know there was the Blu-ray, which I actually was just that transfer on a Blu-ray, because sometimes I'll put out the 4K first and then the Blu-ray later, but I'm not really sure what this is about, unless he had a different 4K or something like that. I really don't know, man, but either way, this is an interesting. Crank on 4K. I think this might just be a re-release, because I could have sworn this already had a 4K in the States. I really don't know. Still waiting for a 4K of Crank too, man. That might probably look a little shoddy because of the way that it was filmed, a very kind of like low quality, I don't know what kind of cameras they were, but I think I remember reading that Mark Neldon and Brian Taylor just went to like Best Buy and they got the cameras there. But anyways, yeah, so the first Crank did have a 4K, so this is just a re-release, I guess. Oh, okay, it's a Best Buy Steelbook, okay. Not crazy about this cover art, man. This looks like, I don't know what they're doing with this film, man. I feel like with both the Crank films, you really need like an artist from like Mondo or something like that to really kind of show how wild these films are. I think one of the big injustices of cinema right now is the fact that Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor's films never really kind of got the financial success they deserve, man, because I think, the film quality of theirs is kind of all over the place, but I think they were doing really interesting action films that a lot of American filmmakers were just not doing. Crank and Crank 2 are really just chaotic, just fun, balls to the wall, running around with these handheld cameras, doing weird, strange camera angles, doing weird, strange editing, kind of just having fun with it. I think if Crank 2 came out now, it'd be received much better. 'Cause I remember seeing that opening weekend, and there wasn't anyone there, man. It was just actually a real shame, man. I know there was talk of them doing like a Twisted Metal movie for years, and I'm like, man, those guys should do it, I know that I think one of them just did a movie. I'm not exactly sure, and like I think the last movie one of them or both of them did together. or maybe it was just one of them, I don't remember. It was Mom and Dad with Nick Cage and Selma Blair, which was, that movie had moments of their kind of crazy action, but the tone of that one was just all over the place, man. That movie just really didn't work for me, but it has a couple moments that are really solid. Like when that film really goes for it and goes like really kind of comedic is when it works, but then it wants to be serious with like these child killings. It didn't totally work for me, but if you haven't seen Crank, yeah, it's fantastic. But especially Crank 2 is one of the best action films of the 21st century so far. From Criterion on this day, we have Petite Maman from 2021. This was from the director of Portrait of a Lady on Fire, whose name I always forget. And I would try to load it here, but Blu-ray site is running on a hamster wheel, and I have nothing but problems with this website, in case you have not noticed from the past couple Blu-ray episodes. I'll keep talking while the website here eventually loads. But yeah, I've seen this film twice now. I saw it theatrically, and then I watched it again for the 2021 episode. And I think this is a film that benefits on a second viewing, because the first time I saw this film, I liked it, but it didn't really leave much of an emotional impact on me. I mean, it's a lean, mean film, and it's 73 minutes, so it's just sort of like, it's in and out. And also the name here, finally loaded, is Celine Sciamma? Sure. Anyways. But on a second viewing, I was able to appreciate this film a lot more. It's a very simple story. It deals with, I don't want to go too much into it because it's very easy to just kind of explain the whole film. But it's this relationship between a mother and her daughter, and the daughter is going through the ma is going through a hard time with her grandma, and I think I messed up that plot. Well, anyways, the point is that the daughter is on her own. She eventually meets another girl, and that's really where I kind of want to leave it. I think this is a really interesting, almost science fiction film in a way. I'd be very interested to hear an interview or a commentary on this. Yeah, I think this is one that I liked a lot more in a second viewing, man. I think I want to pick this up eventually. VHS 99 got delayed from Shudder, but like I said, I'm just glad they're actually releasing their films on Blu-ray. Got Skidamaric coming next month, so I'm glad that actually is getting a release at all. I mentioned before the frustration of a lot of the streaming services not putting their films out, so thank you, Shudder, for that. Let's see here. My Man Godfrey, I think this is a re-release. I could have sworn My Man Godfrey had a Criterion, but I might be completely making that up. I don't know. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. I think this is actually a remake of My Man Godfrey. Hold on. Hold the phone here. I'm going to have to pause this because I'd like to look this up, but of course I got Blu-ray site running on a dang hamster wheel, so I'm going to have to look this up. Give me 1 second, guys. Alright, it finally loaded. Yeah, alright, so this is actually a remake with David Niven. The original that I'm thinking of from 1936, which is the one I've seen, that does have a Criterion, and this one just has, I don't know who's putting this one out. I have no idea. I would try to load the page, but it's not going to work. Yeah, I'm not seeing this one, man, but the original is great. I would definitely recommend that, but I also really like David Niven a lot. That film I watched for the 1958 episode, Separate Tables, I still think is a really exceptional film that I think has a Kino Blu-ray to my knowledge. I'm not actually sure, but yeah, keep an eye out on that film, Separate Tables, and yeah, this page ain't gonna load, so. Alright, gonna be moving on from there. If the previous page will load, that might be it for that day. A couple other new releases on that day, but like I said before, I don't really want to talk a whole lot about brand new releases, because I think people are kind of more in the know about those. Okay, so that's gonna be that for that day. Let's see, jumping back into the UK on May 29th, Burning Paradise. This currently has a Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray that I intended to watch before this episode, but I didn't get an opportunity to, so I'm not sure the consensus is on this. Michael Mann's Black Hat from 2015 is coming to 4K, and to my knowledge, I believe this is a UK and US release as well. I haven't actually scrolled down enough on the US page. I'm pretty sure this is going to be both a US and UK release, as well as 2 more box sets coming from Indicator, Mexico Macabre for... here we go. Here's me trying to load the dang page, man. If you took a shot of alcohol every time I made a comment about the dang pages not loading, man, I tell you, your liver would not be thanking you, man, I tell you. Alright, here we go. Mexico Macabre, 4 Sinister Tales from the Alameda Films Vault, 1959-63. Got a lot of films here. Let's see. Black Pit of Dr. M, The Witch's Mirror, The Brainiac, The Curse of the Crying Woman. That might be it. Okay. Yep, just those 4. I was reading the whole thing, and then I saw Indicator series. I'm like, that ain't a movie. As well, on this day as well, From Hollywood to Heaven, The Lost and Saved Films of the Ormond Family. This has Untamed Mistress, Please Don't Touch Me, 40 Acre Feud, The Girl from Tobacco Row, White Lightning Road, The Exotic Ones, If Footmen Tire You, What Will Horses Do? I think I own that film. The Burning Hell. Do I own that film? I think I gotta look that up, man. I don't, you buy so many titles, it's like, I think I might own that one. The Burning Hell, The Grim Reaper, The Believer's Heaven, 39 Stripes, The Second Coming, and The Sacred Symbol. And I haven't seen a single one of them, but gosh, man, I love their box sets, so I just don't buy enough of them. Let's see as well on this day. I wonder if this is going to get a release in the States. The recent film Close, this was a French film that Mubi is putting out in the UK. I thought it was a pretty good film. It wasn't one that I was totally crazy about, but this was an A24 title, so hopefully it's not a website exclusive. I thought it was okay. I got some problems with the script, but a lot of people are really... I've heard already people say this is one of their favorite films of like the year or of like last year. So keep that in mind if you're curious about watching that. I'm sure it's probably on video on demand somewhere as well. And let's see, some more indicator re-releases. The Nutty Professor coming to 4K from 1963. I don't think this has a US 4K. I don't think so. So that might be it for the UK. So, okay. Gonna jump back into the US on this day on May 30th. Whole bunch of 4Ks. Rain Man coming to 4K, Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise. Now this is a big one on this day. One and Done, one of the great films of the 1950s, which is Charles Laughton's The Night of the Hunter.
Figured I was gone, huh?
Run, hide in the staircase. Run quick. Ruby, shit. What do you want?
I want them kids.
I'm giving you to the count of 3 to get out of here. Then I'm coming across the kitchen shooting you.
The combined powers of Paul Gregory and Charles Laughton brought The Kane Mutiny Court-Martial to Broadway. Now the screen receives that same creative, electrifying impact. The Night of the Hunter.
Now, the thing about this release that somebody had mentioned that I thought was a very good point is that, so the Criterion Night of the Hunter disc is a 2-disc set, has a bunch of features on this, and this does not have, to my knowledge, any of those features. I think, if my internet would load faster, I'd be able to look at this right now. I know I should be prepared for next time, but just bear with me. So I think if you already have that release, you're probably not going to want to get rid of that. This transfer is going to look great. I think Kino's 4Ks are really top notch. I don't own the previous Criterion release, but I would still. I plan on getting this one at some point, the 4K. But I would also get the Criterion because there are a lot of features on there that aren't ported over. So that's the thing you gotta keep in mind when it comes to upgrading a lot of titles. Thelma and Louise coming to 4K from Criterion. This is Ridley Scott's 1991 road trip film with Susan Sarandon and the name I'm blanking on right now. Oh my god, the page loaded. Susan Sarandon, Gina Davis, Brad Pitt has a small part in it. Harvey Keitel has a role in this film. I like this film actually quite a bit, man. This is sort of like a big kind of one of the iconic feminist films. You have these two characters who are kind of like they're outlaws going across the country, and they're being tracked down, and it's an enjoyable film, man. It's not one that I've ever thought was like great or anything like that, but I know this has a cult following, and I could definitely see myself picking up the 4K at some point down the line. Maybe not this sale, maybe the next one, who knows. As well as The Last Starfighter coming to 4K. This is an upgrade from the previous Arrow release. I really like this film. I really have found I really like these 80s films about video games and stuff. I recently watched that 4K, well, I should say recently, but a couple months ago, watched the 4K of Vinegar Syndrome's Cloak and Dagger, and I thought that was such a terrific film, man. I like Cloak and Dagger a lot more than this, but I think this is also a solid film, but I'm not going to be upgrading this one. I already have the regular Blu-ray of that. And another upgrade from Scream Factory is Wes Craven's People Under the Stairs from 1991, actually as well. 1991, People Under the Stairs and Thelma and Louise. I've seen this film a long, long time ago, and I could not tell you if it holds up or not. I know this has a big cult following, so there are definitely big fans of this one, but it's been so long since I've seen it. I remember parts of it, but I don't remember the film itself, honestly. And Scream Factory as well, putting out strange titles on 4K that are just not, I've not heard good things about. The Haunting from 1999, the 4K of that with... who the hell's in that film? It's Catherine Zeta-Jones, Liam Neeson, Owen Wilson's in the film, Lily Tomlin, or is it Lily Tomlin or Taylor? Lily Taylor, okay. I always get them two mixed up. Speaking of Lily Taylor, man, when the hell are we going to get that Blu-ray of Dogfight, man? I've been waiting on that Blu-ray for a while, if it ever even comes to me. I think the only people that care about that film are like me and Brian Sauer. But hey, it's another recommendation for you. Dogfight, River Phoenix, and Lily Taylor. It's a phenomenal film. Let's see here. Drowning by Numbers on 4K. I think I've seen people already get their copies of this. I'm not actually sure. I've seen some acquaintances log this on Letterboxd, so I assume they got their copies. I have no idea. I have no idea what that is. as well. Okay, the Mexico Macabre set is also coming to the States from Indicator. The Nutty Professor 4K is also coming to the States. Highwaymen from 2004. I think it is David Lynch's son or daughter directed this film. This is with Jim Caviezel and someone else. Let's see here. Maybe not. What am I thinking of? Maybe it wasn't David Lynch's son. Robert Harmon. I gotta look up that name, man. I could have sworn that was in conversation. Unless I'm thinking of something completely different. No, maybe not. I may have just made that up, to be honest. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of something else entirely different. Alright, or maybe I have no idea, man. Anyways, I know this film, but... No, okay, this is not David Lynch's son. What the hell am I talking about, man? What? I don't have a clue what I was talking about. Alright, forget everything I said. Highwaymen. Maybe I'm thinking of a different film. Does David Lynch even have a son? I have no idea. Anyways, moving on from there. And the page won't load. Alright, gonna have to pause this yet again. Alright, let's see. More of the Mono Macabre titles that they just announced a couple days ago, actually. The Night of the Executioner, Unquiet Death, or Unquiet, is that a typo? Unquiet? Is it Unquiet or Unquite? This says Unquiet Death. I don't know if that's a typo or not. And The Broken Mirror, as well as The Girl Can't Stop and The Fear. And I've not seen any of these. That might be it for that day. Yeah, some more Warner Archive titles coming. I'm glad they're still going, but I could have sworn, there was this whole big thing. People were talking about whether or not they were going to continue or not into 2023. And they're still going, man. I mean, I just bought the Warner Archive DVD of the film Going Home with Robert Mitchum and Jan Michael Vincent, which is a really terrific film. It doesn't have a Blu-ray yet. But we got a couple Warner Archive tales here. The Boy with Green Hair, Queen Christina, The Courtship of Eddie's Father, Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, and that might be it for those. Oh, as well as I think Shelf Factory are putting out The Morning After with Jane Fonda and Jeff Bridges, which I also have not seen. Oh, as well as from Warner Archive, King Solomon's Mines, not seen those. But X-May, holy moly, how long did I talk for, man? Jeez Louise, man. I did not mean to talk that long. Anyways, man, alright. Well, I've talked enough, so... That's all I got, man.